Hello, and welcome to Beast Fables, a role-playing live show following the stories of tiny beasts in a massive forest. Look at how big that forest is, it's so huge. Guess what? This map is visible by anyone. You can just go to the link in the description of this video, go to the Linktree, and you can literally see the whole world of Beast Fables and see how big the world is. I'm not lying. It is tiny beasts in a massive forest. I'm Brian. I use he, him pronouns, and I get sidetracked even when I've written myself a script. I run the entry-level publisher, Dungeons on a Dime, making just really easy to use tabletop role-playing game content. I have got tons of videos, books, podcasts, there's Patreon, and there's even a cool little Kickstarter going on, which ends in like 3 or 4 days and has raised $3.5 grand for a really cool system-neutral storytelling system that we use in this show, Beast Fables. Today, I am joined by the magnificent Ver, Fraser, and Atlanta. And I'm going to hand over to them to introduce themselves, starting with Ver.
Pipistrelle, everybody. My name is Ver. I am an illustrator and comic artist. I use they, them pronouns, and in today's game, I will be playing Balthazar of Blueberry Pond, a toad knight who is very courageous and not very smart.
That is incredible. And you ended just as I took a sip of water, which means that you got that lovely slurp sound. Handing over, next on our list is Fraser. I'm swapping
hello.
up this week.
Yeah, you are. I was not ready for that. Hello, I'm Fraser. I go by he, him pronouns. And today I am playing, I almost forgot the name, Lutzen 10 Whiskers, the craft paw rat.
We love a crafty rat. And speaking of rats, we are met by a flying rat called Pipistrelle. Not called Atlanta. Atlanta's not a flying rat.
God,
Atlanta,
I was
please
so
say
terrified you were gonna say.
Speaking of rats, here's our resident rat, Atlanta. Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm the resident rat. Sometimes known as Atlanta, sometimes known as Pipistrelle. Take your pick, because apparently it don't fucking matter.
Okay, I want to just say that you said resident, but in my head it turned into President Rat, and now I'm just imagining a little sash and a top hat.
So hello, today I am President Rat. We've lost the thread of this already spectacularly. Hi, sorry, I'm Atlanta. I usually go for she, her pronouns. I'm playing Pipistrelle, Moon Messenger of Odoak, our intrepid little roguelike naughty bat, who's definitely not currently causing more trouble by doing everything that she did last week and the week previously. Whoopsie.
Oh, that's giving me like Moira Schitt's Creek vibes. Naughty bat. Anyway,
I would just like to say, yeah, I know. I just wanted to say that, like, when we were doing our warm up, we're very normal people, and literally in the last 5 minutes, we somehow all lost it, and we went into the show with just without a shred of sanity left. And this is the second, like, this has been happening regularly now, and I'm fascinated by what prompts this.
We need to do a study on us. Like, there's something going on.
Many things are going on.
Many things are going on. Brian and I were having a very in-depth, creative conversation about a video game that was very cohesive, using a lot of big words.
Very.
And now we're like, we are the rat people. Exactly. So I don't know.
Anyway, Beast Fables, I guess.
Why does anyone listen to this show?
I'm going to add a time code that's just going to be like, 20 minutes in, this is chapter 1, 30 minutes in, this is this, and it's going to be like 5 minutes in, past the bullshit.
Yeah, please do. For everyone's sanity.
So, back on script with my professional narration voice. Today we are playing on the virtual tabletop known as Roll20. It's an easy-to-use website where you can play all sorts of awesome video games. Or role-playing games, not video games. I mean, technically it's a game with anyway. On track. Roll20 is super easy to use. There are all these really cool character sheets, including custom ones for Adventures on a Dime, which is the system we are using today. On Roll20, you can keep track of all your possessions, all the things your character has, their jobs, their skills, and you can even roll dice as them. For example, Balthazar's cunning is a 3, a complication. You can barely manage to pull it off, but not without consequence. So, I'm going to say that it... I was going to... well, originally, 2 weeks ago, I said that this roll is going to decide who summarizes what happened last game. So if you've got a 4, you got to choose, and a 3, you had to do rock, paper, scissors. But I'm now just realizing I don't know how to do rock, paper, scissors over voice chat.
This is true.
Wasn't it just that like at 4 I get to choose, at 1 I have to do it, but at 2 or 3 it's like anybody's
okay,
game.
Sure.
I mean, alternately we can roll like like highest or something, like a d6 or.
Who do you challenge then, Ver?
Oh, what? To roll?
Yeah.
I will challenge Atlanta because I do believe that Fraser would not be appreciative if I denoted.
Put me on blast. Absolutely, just put me on blast. I'd be like, things happened. There was a wolf. Done. We did it.
So, what are we rolling with Atlanta?
Yeah.
What are we rolling?
Yeah.
What are we rolling?
D6.
A d6. Okay. We just do. Is it what?
Yeah. If you do /R, 1d6.
Is there a space between
Yeah,
1 and
/R
d6?
Yes.
Or just one, or just 1d6 all one.
Or one thingy.
Yeah, phrase. One syntax.
Oops, hang on. I did it wrong.
Just like that.
But without the dot.
But without the dot, yeah.
Thank you. I'm bad at this.
No, you're learning.
Dang it!
Ver, you have lost the challenge.
Yeah.
Forfeit your life and or summarize the previous game.
Tough choice. In this economy, I gotta say, no, okay, I'll do one more week at least.
Okay.
All right, I will summarize. So, last time we had left off on a cliffhanger. As I suppose to contextualize it a little bit, our intrepid, curious little bat friend Pipistrelle had gone off to essentially spy on the wolf outside of Aspengrace. Had gotten into a little bit of trouble as the wolf had spotted her. On her way back to Aspengrace, she was knocked out of the air and tied up by a wildcat who turns out is a member of the Tanners Guild, who has basically a permit to kill this wolf from the city of Fangwatch. And the cliffhanger ended on this wildcat, whose name is Flynn, Tanner Flynn, deputizing Pipistrelle to have her help him kill the wolf. Shortly after, Flynn started. Flynn freed Pipistrelle from her binds, and started somewhat nonchalantly, just with a lot of reservation. He's definitely a person in charge. He started making his way back to Aspengrace, Pipistrelle following behind. I think Pipistrelle was a little taken aback by his demeanor and didn't ask one question, kind of finding out that Flynn is aware that she has other fellows that she is with. He finds it rather suspicious that they just approached a wolf like it's nothing, and that he wants her and her friends, meaning Balthazar and Lutzen, to be in on this job of getting rid of this wolf. Pipistrelle, he allowed Pipistrelle to re-enter Aspengrace as he waited on the outskirts of town, and Pipistrelle made it back to the lodgings that Balthazar and Lutzen have been occupying. Everybody was, the two beasts that were left behind were relieved to see their friend once again, and Pipistrelle relayed to them some of the details of what she had gone through, though she did, if I'm not mistaken, she did keep to herself the narrow brush with death that she had at the claws and jaws of the wolf as it had lunged at her. But she did tell us that this event with Tanner Flynn and what we are meant to do. And this elicited some mixed responses, as I believe Balthazar was still very much under the impression... this is a good Balthazar tuba. Still under the impression that this wolf is a knight and just kind of minding its own business, and that we should just tell it to leave. So after letting Pipistrelle rest for a little bit and recover from a fairly traumatic series of events, we descended back down to the outskirts of Aspengrace to speak with Tanner Flynn, where we kind of... Well, I think it was mostly Balthazar who was arguing that, well, we don't... this wolf is just a person, apparently, and they're just kind of hanging out. However, Tanner Flynn did present his own view, which is that allowing any large behemoth or predator to just run around unchecked can entice other predators to decide that these areas are easy pickings. As even if the wolf is let off scot-free without dealing any damage to it, the fact that it could come and go without any consequences is in itself a dangerous thing. We had kind of divided up our responsibilities towards Tanner Flynn in that Balthazar would go and speak with this wolf to distract it during the day. Meanwhile, Pipistrelle and Lutzen would be catching a fish, as Tanner Flynn himself will proceed to seek out some manner of poisons or creating means to create poisons, as their plan is presumably to lace a fish with poison, offer it to the wolf, or have us offer it to the wolf as it knows us, and be done with that job. So we followed Balthazar to see how his conversation with the wolf goes. As the previous day, when we did speak with the wolf, we found out that it is writing some manner of saga, and that it is interested in the topic of sacrifice. And upon speaking at the time very briefly with Balthazar, it said that it should like to interview him. Balthazar came a little early to the area where the wolf usually resides. The wolf finally arrived, and they started talking, though not before Balthazar offered the wolf a little bit of bread, a novelty both for him and the wolf. The wolf seemed to enjoy it. And they started exchanging a little bit more casual conversation, as Balthazar started to find out a little bit more through this conversation about this wolf. The wolf had conveyed that they are from something called a college, that it is a collective of, well, we're not sure exactly what manner of beasts or behemoths, but they're not the only one there, and they are writing a book about the different relationships that beasts have to each other, all the different animals living in this world, essentially. It has been observing Aspengrace, quite interested in its denizens, and it seems to have traveled quite a far way, and this wolf itself is quite unique among its brethren, as it is interested in the smaller beasts of the world and their lives and, I suppose, experiences in this wide world. And shortly after, it kind of reflected some questions back on Balthazar, asking him to please begin the interview, or rather to have him speak about his experiences. And Balthazar shared his experiences with sacrifice, being a young toad, but nonetheless I suppose, veteran of the Boer War. He had seen many fellow not knights, toadstool squires, including his own mentor, Lavinia, perished in the war, and he shared some of his feelings and reflections on the sacrifice for a greater good, and how while he feels that, or he feels like he has to feel about it that way, in the end, it just leaves an empty void and nothing else. Upon speaking about the Boer War and the interactions that they have with these behemoths that just come and destroy everything, and how he or creatures like him never asked to be little beasts that are subject to the whims of these greater creatures, how these sacrifices that they make every day are usually can be at the behest of creatures who don't even think about it twice. And he turned his question about sacrifice on the wolf, and the wolf said that, well, they made their own sacrifices. They revealed that in joining the college and pursuing this life, they had to leave their pups behind, the pups that they gave birth to, as this lifestyle isn't particularly conducive to raising young creatures, and that is something that they had to leave behind because this work that they're doing is their legacy. And I think in this moment, or throughout this entire conversation, Balthazar was more and more convinced about the, I will use the word humanity as we understand it, the humanity of this wolf and its work. And he kind of realized that, well, he definitely doesn't want this wolf to get poisoned. And he kind of suggested to the wolf that he didn't want to break his word to Flynn, to not just tell the wolf straight up, hey, there's a guy here to kill ya, but he wanted to still suggest to the wolf that it is not safe. He made some allusions to the wolf's safety and to the fact that some beasts out there might not be happy with it being here and might retaliate or take matters into their own paws. And had suggested to this wolf, that perhaps what might help them seek out a better access to the beasts of the Bristley Woods would be to kind of assimilate a little better among its denizens. And he had suggested that the wolf travel to Blueberry Pond, as surely his disposition will be respected and honored by the Toad Knights. As everybody knows, toads are inedible, and they do not fear behemoths the way that other creatures do. And the wolf seemed to consider this option. However, it did conclude that it wants to finish its, at least gather these 2 interviews from Pipistrelle and Lutzen before perhaps it goes over all of its notes, finishes everything up, and moves on. And I believe we left on Balthazar and the wolf parting ways. Balthazar's day with the wolf finished, and with us left wondering, what is it that Pipistrelle and Lutzen have been to all this time?
Yes. I feel like it's a fantastic summary. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the sun back maybe 4 or 5 hours, because your discussion with the wolf has taken time, and you know, there's the walk to and the walk back and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to cycle back to the early morning when the sun was just rising, to illuminate your clandestine meeting with the wildcat Flynn. Balthazar and Pipistrelle, you've been assigned your duty.
Lutzen, I think.
Lutzen, yeah, sorry. Lutzen and Pipistrelle, you've been assigned your duty to find and catch a fish with which to poison and feed this wolf. What do you do?
I think as we were last walking off, we were kind of walking off in the opposite direction from Balthazar, if I'm correct, and kind of like just, I think Lutzen was consoling Pip as she was looking quite worried.
That she was. And kind of is.
It still is, continuing to be. I think it was going to just be kind of chatting on our way. I assume we know which way to the water it is.
Yeah, because I think we have a map, so we know roughly
yeah.
which direction to go in.
And also, like, you can see the glittering slither of silver that marks the river to the north of Aspengrace from the treetops.
Okay, lovely.
We know where we're going. I imagine probably what we're talking about on our way to the river is how on earth are we going to catch a fish?
Yeah, that is really a bit of a predicament.
We are both sort of beasts of certainly of a smaller stature, and we have no otters nearby with which to help us get the fish out of the water. So I guess we will have to figure out how best to catch a fish, particularly because if this is if this is summertime, what's going to be in a river at summertime?
I was going to say, what fish are available, really?
Oh gosh.
Well, I've done my research, and there are all sorts of fish that would be available in a river, but you wouldn't know, seeing as you don't eat fish and do not know any fishers.
I guess we will have to just try our best and see how we do.
So yeah, I think as we're kind of walking, I think someone will kind of just pipe up and just ask, like, so have you ever fished before, Pip?
Pip kind of would sort of turn to Lutzen and be like, I can't say that I have, no.
Are you much of a fish entrepreneur? That's not the right word. Aficionado. I'm not exactly one for entrepreneur. I'm not really one for eating fish too often. It's mostly berries and nuts and things.
Pip sort of just nods in agreement and says, well, my diet and what I've always ate, eat sort of moths and small insects, and I've seen fish in the marketplaces at Odok, but I've never caught one myself, because they're they're a little fish that we could hold in our arms, like tiny sticklebacks, I think, and maybe minnow, but you see some huge fish.
Yeah, they can be pretty big. And usually it's for bigger beasts.
Oh yeah, I've seen the otters selling something called a salmon in the autumn, and they're enormous.
Oh, they're huge. They're terrifying.
She sort of looks at Lutzen up and down. It's like, well, just much bigger than you. Definitely much bigger than me. And I, and she sort of she shudders a little bit because and it's like, oh, the smell. She doesn't like the smell of fish because it's quite pungent for her little nose.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, maybe we really didn't think this one through.
No, I guess we didn't. But also, even if by some miracle we do manage to catch a fish, how are we supposed to get it even anywhere close to this wolf? Surely it will be able to smell a poison a mile off. It's a wolf.
We just got to find a really stinky fish.
That, I suppose, might work.
Yeah, we'll figure something out, I'm sure. For sure.
Pip looks doubtful, but is going to be like...
Yeah, he's kind of grimacing as he says this. He's kind of shrugging his shoulders a little bit, like, I don't know.
So, how do you want to go about trying to find a fish?
God.
First of all, finding some water would be useful.
Yeah, river first.
Definitely get to the water, see what's there. I've not really come across many landfish before.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of be the first thing to do once we kind of get to the river, is actually if we can, maybe sort of ascertain what fish are there currently, and maybe try and pick ones.
Or see who is there, if there's anyone also fishing that we could assist.
That is actually a really good idea.
It's a half-hour hike up from Aspengrace to the nearest part of the river. Mm-hmm. The road does bend round and follow the river towards Bramblefork, but that path also leads past the wolf, which you feel is counterintuitive to sneaking a fish to it.
Indeed it is.
So you hike through the long grasses of this kind of channel of meadows towards the river. It's a half hour because you're moving through kind of more unbeaten terrain. But halfway there, you do find a sort of well-travelled path. It isn't necessarily a road. It just seems like this has been walked along many times. And you recognise the moderately larger footprints of maybe otters. You've seen a fair few of them at Willowmoot, so they seem similar. And you're walking along towards the river, and you come across its bank. You see this path goes far to the left and to the right, either direction of the river, and the river itself is much larger than the map would imply. It is, I mean, Lutzen, you would feel intimidated trying to swim across this. It's just so big. And the water is a deep, murky green. The water's levels are receded somewhat from the edges of the banks. There's sort of like a cliff. Not a cliff, but like there's sort of like that sort of grassy verge which then descends into like muddy riverbed. Because the river, as large as it is, has sunken because of the long, hot summer.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I'm going to say, with not much effort, you're able to spy further up the river several small, ricketily constructed posts. They seem large enough for an otter to sit on and fish from. Some of them have nets that are drying laid out over them. Some have otters on them with fishing poles. And you notice, I'm going to say if you walk up or down the river, you do notice that there is occasionally an otter that's swimming and kind of wading into the depths and then kind of fiddling with some nets or something and then coming back out and drying off and sunning itself in the warm morning light.
Oh, delicious. Wish that was me.
Should have played an otter.
I know. Damn.
Life goals.
Life goals. Become otter. Okay.
If you get a rack and you just stretch yourself.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh
I could be, yeah. Okay. Well, at least that's there are otters. That's good.
Well, at least it means that there's also fish in this part of the river. So
Yeah.
We won't have to go further afield.
Oh,
I
God,
mean, I
just
suppose.
fishing for nothing.
Oh God, I know, right? Oh, sorry. I
wouldn't be too opposed
guess-
to asking for help.
Yeah, I think sort of Pip will be watching them sort of like doing that sort of very charming otter thing of kind of like swimming around in the water and then catching stuff and bringing it out and things. Sort of with a sort of like a curiosity, but she would turn to Lutzen and say, yeah, surely one of these dear beasts might be able to give us a hand. They look like they're fishing already, and are they pulling fish out of the water kind of as we're watching them dive? And fish
It seems like I'm going to say you sit and you watch them at the edge of the bank for maybe 10 minutes, and you notice that mostly they're putting nets out. They're not necessarily taking fish out of the water just yet.
But they are putting stuff in place.
Yeah, so they seem to be using tools. They're not swimming around and catching fish and drag them out one by one. They seem to be much more industrious than simply just fending for themselves.
Yeah,
one of the otters is very lazily crunching on half of a carrot in one of its paws while it watches a fishing rod with a single line, a lure on it, kind of just gently bobbing in the water. You also notice the water, when the otters swim into it, is opaque. Once they swim below the surface more than a couple, paws width, they're gone from view, and then they come back out again. But it is very murky.
Because we're probably not gonna, with neither of us being either like adept swimmers or fishers, the likelihood of us actually spotting any fish in this water is probably not great.
Also, if the otters are diving down, I guess wading is out of the question.
Yeah, that's true. So I think
We're gonna roll up his old dungarees.
This is probably a case of I guess we're gonna have to actually go and ask these otters for help.
Well, I don't know about you, Pipistrelle, but I really don't feel too prepared to be diving in there to fetch some fish. Not that we can even see any, really. But seeing that there are otters there, I assume it's a good sign.
I would definitely agree with that. I think Pip is sort of watching the one who with the fishing poles. Like, well, maybe we could ask them for help then. Maybe they will be able to, maybe we can trade for a fish. I'm not sure, but maybe we could.
Yeah. Or we could just borrow the fishing line. Surely it's not going to take that long.
I suppose that's true. I mean, neither of us know anything about this, so we don't know how long it could take. But yeah, I think we should give it a try, and I think maybe we should go and talk to one of these otters.
Okay. Could waddle up.
Yeah, I guess. I think
cautiously, maybe.
Yeah.
They're territorial with their fish.
Actually, yeah. Which otter is closest? Are there any otters that are close to us, or are they all kind of like spread out a little bit?
So they're spread out. Maybe. I'd say each otter is far enough away that they appear distant on the horizon. You can still see them along the curve of the river and in the tall grasses. But they're far enough away they don't seem to be impeding on each other's fishing progress.
Okay.
There's also otters on both sides of the rivers at sort of like these large gaps.
Okay.
So they seem to be kind of monopolizing the space and equally distributing it.
Okay.
You walk up to the closest otter, who is wearing a straw hat and has a very light, sort of just a yellowish linen shawl, which they've got draped over their shoulders, and they are intently... No, they're not intently. They're in a relaxed, kind of slumped posture, head on one paw, half lying down, like reclining, watching a line that's bobbing. And they sort of look at you. They give you like a quick glance as you approach, but don't seem to really be worried about you.
Okay. I guess we'll go and sort of maybe make our presence known to this otter then, if they're not sort of worried about us coming close.
I think we'll kind of waddle up or kind of wander up and just kind of say, "Hello, friend. How's your fishing going today?"
The otter slowly turns its head, and then sort of like with the other paw shifts the straw hat so it's not blocking its view of you, and it just goes, yeah, it's going all right today. Well, setting up really.
I suppose
Kind of gives a long stretch, kind of like showing its belly, and then the arms go out, and then it sort of like on all fours kind of rears up and sort of like a little bit like those inflatable dancing men outside car shows, like the sort of like that, sort of like rises up and then sort of towers over you on its hind legs, but in a very friendly way. You have no malicious energy from this otter.
Okay, cool. See, I don't suppose you'd be willing to maybe give us a little bit of tutorage on how to do this kind of fishing thing. See, me and my friend over here, Pip, we're trying to find a fish. And ideally catch one as well.
I'd say, you've never met this beast before, you're trying to make a good impression. That's going to be a willpower check for me.
Noted.
From both of us or just Lutzen?
From Lutzen.
Okie dokie.
And you can tag anything you want.
Sure. Unfiltered personality. He's just pretty direct about it. He's just like, here's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
Help us.
I'm going to let you tag that. I feel like otters would respect honesty and also are quite forward themselves as well.
Love that. So just a double roll.
So that's a 7 and a 6.
That's
Both
not
of them
too
are
bad.
successes. You do as well as you can. The otter sort of looks at you a little bit and then chuckles and goes, sure thing. I can show you what I'm doing, but I think you're a tad on the small side for this. Hey Fred, would you mind telling me why you want a fish?
Well, you see, it's not really for us. Like, we're really not really wanting to be eating fish that often, but we're trying to find a fish that we. What's kind of gets distracted? Like, maybe I shouldn't tell them that we're trying to poison a wolf. We're getting it for
seeing, like...
a friend, and we'll wink at Pip.
Yeah. Oh God,
Very obvious.
She slightly twitches her ear in a like a oh no kind of way. I think she would sort of chime in and say, "Is like a friend of ours in Aspengrace asked us if we could help him by catching a fish, and we're trying to be helpful. Yes, we are." She sort of gestures to the fishing pole, which would be just ridiculously long compared to either of those. Yes, we are definitely a bit too small for this, but we thought we are justice to Lutzen, we are a craft poor and a bat of reasonable intelligence, and she touches her chest, and we just thought we'd try and help our friend out.
And the otter
super unhappy.
A bit straighter.
The otter at that kind of turns.
Not quite superhero pose.
I'm gonna say the otter turns and then says, "Oh, you're a craft boy. Did you help my mate up the road with his teeth?"
True that, I did.
Do you think you could have a look at my paw? And he and the otter puts out their paw, and you notice they have they flex out some of their claws, and 2 of their claws are missing on the like one of their side, and they say, "I was a real idiot when I was younger. Bit off more than I could chew." And it's all fine with my lefty, but with my righty, it's a bit hard to scrabble out of the river. Can you give me some claws?
I mean, I'll see what I can do for sure. And he'll kind of start like kind of gently kind of taking the otter's paw in his paws and just kind of looking it over, just kind of getting a sense for kind of otter paw anatomy, I guess, and just seeing, you can see it working in his head. You know, you can see the numbers going.
Okay, so make a cunning check for me to see how successful you are at sort of digesting this anatomy. Okay. Digesting is the wrong word. Analyzing.
Oh no! Oh, I was gonna say, no, it's too late. What kind of natural curiosity?
I'd allow
eye for detail, or
no, you've rolled. I like a hijinks. I think it's much more interesting.
Oh no!
Brian.
So, hijinks. Something goes terribly wrong. The narrative describes how things go awry, and hijinks may follow. You are utterly fascinated by this paw. You are turning it over, and you're looking, and the otter kind of turns around and kind of goes back to sitting down and gestures you 2 over, and you happily go over and you sit on either side. Pipistrelle, you are listening to the otter as he describes what fishing is like, and we'll have that conversation in a second. But Lutzen, you are just utterly fascinated by this paw, and all of these ideas are coming to your head of how you make the claws, where they go, the construction that would wrap onto it, and you are not listening to a thing the otter is saying.
Oh no!
Okay. That's fine. That's fair.
So the hijinks is really just going to be that, like, it's going to come to fishing time, and Pip has been like, right, so Lutzen, did you get all of that? And Lunsen's like, what?
What? Sorry, you were talking?
So you are turning over this paw, and it's utterly fascinating. It seems like the claws have ripped out, unfortunately, through some kind of accident at the knuckle joint. And so you're thinking of ways that you could try and aid with that, or make some kind of prosthetic to give more of that function back to the hand. All of the muscle and the functionality is there, but that sort of like appendage is missing. So have a little think about that while I have a conversation about fish with Pipistrelle.
Okay.
Hooray.
It's the otter, completely nonplussed about the fact that its hand is being turned around and kind of prodded and shaked and spread and stuff like that. With this rat very interestedly just like blah, 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 to its left, or no, to its right. You, Pipistrelle, sit on this otter's left, on the side of its good paw, and the otter is just looking at you. So, what do you know about fish?
Oh God, what does Pip know about fish? Probably not very much. She's sort of like, she's. Yeah, honestly, she probably would like shrug and sort of giggle and say, not much. I've seen them for sale in my hometown, but I don't exactly know anything about them other than they smell funny.
Well, I can give you the long story or the short story.
Here's a test of Pip's attention span.
Versus her curiosity, also.
Yeah, versus her curiosity. This is an interesting one to have. And you know what? I think a little bit of curiosity would kick in here. I think you say, you know what? Actually, tell me the long story. That I'd like to know.
So, I have a friend. His name is Rudy, and Rudy has. Yes, this is the long story. Rudy is friends with he's got a cousin who lives on the coast, and you can get to the coast by swimming downstream to Locktrine and then swimming down past that Otter Dam place, and then downstream from there into another loch, and then out through the sea through another little channel. And Rudy's cousin says there are loads of fish in like the big ocean as well. I mean, clearly water fish. You catch them adrift. Rudy's cousin says that the water make the fish. That you can swim down as far as you can, hold your breath as long as you can, and there's always going to be fish. So Rudy says that fish are basically water. Just like insects are dirt. Do you get me? Like if you ever claw through dirt, there's insects, right? Far down as you go until you get to rocks. Insects aren't rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fish are water. This is important because we're not dirt, we're not water, which means it's totally okay to eat fish.
Pip
You get me?
Pip kind of Pip is kind of making this face of like someone who is desperately trying to understand the thread of a conversation and is failing a little bit. She kind of squints her eyes a little bit and she nods and says, "That's I've never thought about it like that, but I suppose," and she sort of takes a pause, "I suppose that is sort of, yes, I suppose that does make sense." And she's now kind of like more sort of thinking to herself and like muttering a little bit about sort of bugs and dirt and like, and it's sort of like, where do moths fit into this? Are moths air? Does that make air? She's like, she's having like her own sort of deep philosophical conversation.
I think if you said that, it would blow this otter's mind. But the otter continues. So the otter says, yeah, so.
Fascinating.
What was I saying? Yes. So fish are water and insects are dirt, right? So it's totally fine to eat them. This is important because we catch them with hooks and lures and these little fancy devices. And he pulls out a box he's got nearby. It's a small box because, relative to the size of an otter. And he kind of opens it and all these shiny metal hooks and barbs are inside with bits of feather and down, like downy, fluffy feathers and dried berries. And he says, just like anything, fish like to eat. So what you have to do is you have to put food on the hook and you put the hook on a string and you put the string in the hook into the water and you wait and they'll come along and they'll eat it and they'll get caught on the hook. Now you wouldn't do this with any normal beast because they think and they feel pain and they would go ow, right? Mm-hmm. But fish don't go ow. Fish are made of water, so it's fine. That's what Rudy's cousin told Rudy told me.
Pip is the Beast Fables equivalent of that gif of the guy with all the fireworks in the background going like she's sort of like kind of heartened, I guess, a little bit from those words. Like, I suppose I see where you're coming from. Yes, fish are water and they don't feel pain in the same way that we do. Okay, so if I were to try and catch a fish, then, I mean, she sort of looks at the water and then she sort of looks back to the otter, kind of like sizing him up a little bit. So, how big a fish would you be catching today?
So, my brother Logan up the stream is trying to catch with his nets. He's trying to catch some perch, and I am also trying to catch some perch. They are spiny and they're wiggly and they look a bit like this. And he draws in the air sort of the rough silhouette of a perch, which I will draw above the wolf in the top right corner. So I'm just gonna shift click. Everyone's attention is on me, and they sort of look a bit like this. That's the silhouette he draws.
That's adorable.
But also, that's mostly their fins, their shape, all the eaty bits are more like this. And he draws it really loosely in the air. Mm-hmm. He says, they're not too big, but I would say they're bigger than your pal over there. And he kind of moves his arm a little bit forward, and Lutzen follows. And you see that Lutzen, what are you doing with this paw right now? Because it's moved, but you're so intent that you just move with the paw.
I think right now he's got kind of like, he's grabbing onto like fingers each and doing like kind of like little piggies, like wiggling each one. Does that make sense? Like little like and just moving them, spreading them apart, and like seeing like the little webbing in between, and kind of just like I imagine it's above him. Mm-hmm. So as the otter moves his paw, it's kind of dragging him along almost.
I think you've opened the paw to reveal You've opened the portal to reveal the webbing, and you're looking at the webbing through the light, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
it's
it's exactly like that.
Oh,
like
that's
the paw's
so
above his
cute.
head, and so he's just like head up, like looking at it as the paw moves. He's kind of like following it along like a child chasing a balloon kind of thing.
Mm-hmm,
Oh,
That's my what's going on.
And this otter just doesn't look at you, Lutzen, at all when he moves the paw forward. But you can see the paw is out, and he's. I lost my trail of thought there. Your friend, so. Oh, fish complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was I saying again? Oh,
well,
yes. This minnow, this perch that we're catching is probably about twice as big as your friend there. Quite meaty, but there are some smaller, younger ones as well, which are better to be caught on a line because, well, if you have too big a fish, it'll break the fishing rod, which is why you want the nets. And any fish that are smaller, they'll slip through the net and they'll get caught on my rod. You see? And he kind of taps his head, and the hat falls off.
Oh, I love this guy. I think Pip would sort of think about that for a second, and kind of, obviously, like without saying it, kind of thinking about the size of the wolf. They probably would want like, you know, a bigger fish. So like an adult perch would be good. So I guess, God, would it be pertinent to maybe ask the otter for like a help, maybe getting like a net so we can catch like a bigger one? I mean, I don't know.
Lutzen is not paying attention.
Lutzen is not paying attention.
But Fraser thinks that's a good idea.
Fraser thinks that's a good idea, but Lutzen is away.
Lutzen is not even on this planet. He's not even near this loch.
Oh my god.
He's in another loch far, far away.
He's
I
in
think
otter mech space.
Well.
Oh my god, webbed. Yeah. Yeah, I think Pip would sort of turn to the otter then and say, well, you know, this friend of ours is a rather large fish eater, so maybe one of the bigger perch, you call them, that would probably suit us very well. But like you say, I'm a bit too small to maybe catch this under my own steam. You know, could I ask you perhaps, or maybe one of your friends, for help?
That seems reasonable. You could go down to my brother Logan, just down the way, and ask him if you could maybe... Yeah, tell him I sent you, and he'll try and help... Or you help him, and he'll get you a fish out the river, and it'll be all cool.
Well, we can definitely try and help him however we can. I mean, I assume my friend could stay with you for a moment and keep working on your paw, and I can go and talk to your brother.
That sounds very amicable. Yeah, just give him just tell him that I sent you, and he'll wave at me, and I'll wave at him, and we'll be good.
Okay, I think that's what Pip will do then. She looks at Lutzen, kind of like inspecting this paw, and then she's like, you know what? I think I'll just leave him to it. And so she's gonna
pause.
she's gonna wander away down to this Logan, and have a chat with him.
Okay. So Logan is maybe 5 minutes downriver. I say downriver towards the neck of the river, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Towards Loch Katrine. And you walk about 5 minutes, and the otter has just jumped out of the river onto the little pontoon. That's the word for it. They're very basic, but there's very simple wooden pontoons. You kind of jumps out of the river, water going everywhere, with a net half in his mouth. In his mouth, then held with one paw, and he kind of launches himself onto the pontoon. He kind of takes it, and then with the rest of him, kind of pulls the net up. There's nothing in it, and he seems to be kind of digging around for a wooden tool, and he starts to mend the net. And he kind of looks up as you approach, hearing the kind of the sounds of your claws on the grass. And he gives you a bit of a quizzical look as you walk up.
I think Pip would sort of smile as graciously as she can, because obviously she can't exactly, even with an otter sitting down, she's not exactly looking eye to eye with him because she's so small. But she would sort of come up and sort of greet him with like a cheery wave and say, "Good morning to you. Are you Logan?"
Yes, I'm Logan. Who are you?
My name's Pipistrelle. I've just been speaking with your brother, and she gestures back down towards the river where the other otter was. Did we actually? Oh god, I didn't get his name. Whoops. Terrible manners. Oh no.
So Logan goes, kind of pokes his head out of the pontoon, or like over the pontoon, over the river, and looks towards his brother, and sees his brother. Doesn't see Lutzen because Lutzen's on the other side of him.
Oh god, yeah.
And he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." He sort of just looks at you.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I'm sorry to bother you. Your brother sent me over here because you seem to be catching fish in your net, and I am in search of a fish today for a friend of mine in Aspengrace, and I need quite a large fish because this is quite a large friend, and I was wondering if I could assist you at all and perhaps catch a fish with you today.
So the otter considers it and goes, well, there's a bit of a problem with that. Well,
Oh, really?
2 problems. First of all, something's been chewing through my nets, so
Oh.
if we want to catch a fish, you're going to have to help me mend them. That'll be the first thing. Second thing, we already have a standing deal with some of the salters in the market. They take the fish and they move it further into the woods. I can't really go against that deal. This would be a bit under the table, so I don't really feel that good about just fishing for people, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, of course. I certainly wouldn't want to get you in trouble with the salters. She sort of thinks for a minute. Oh, what can I do here? I don't think I have anything to trade that an otter would like. Because Pip isn't carrying any of that cider on her, and also, like, I don't even know if an otter would want.
Lutzen has carrots.
Oh, Lutzen does have carrots. Ooh. I think before she does anything, Pip would ask Logan, so do you have a certain number of fish that you need to catch today, for example?
We don't have a quota, but it's an exclusivity thing, so that we just don't have fish all willy-nilly flooding the market, if that makes sense. I feel like that's what he would say to the question to the
yeah. I'm trying to think how best to like negotiate with this otter, because like Pip is so small. I really don't think she's like, even with Ludzen's help, if Lutzen ever comes back, like I don't know if like Pip and Lutzen together are going to be able to like catch a fish on their own with no experience without the aid of like an otter. But also I don't want to get the otter in trouble because that would just be mean. Oh, I don't know.
I mean, when you're saying about the holes in the net, my instincts are for let's try and help fix that also.
Yeah,
And just do
because
some like
I think
little repairs to kind of
like sort of
improve the catching. Is maybe we'll catch more.
That's sort of what I'm thinking. Is like, is there anything that we can offer the otter that so like it's not like under the table, but like, maybe if we fix his net, he can just like help us catch. He can help us catch a fish.
Yeah.
And then like still, catch more fish, so he's not like out of his quota, or not out of his quota.
Yeah, more than he would, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then he has like more to give to the salters, perhaps without without us kind of just taking one of the fish that he would have given to them. Because like it's not like we're like getting like an entire like platter's worth of fish. It's going to be just literally just one.
Yeah.
I think Pip would. Okay, so Pip would sort of say to Logan, "Is like, well, I'll tell you what. If me and my friend," and she kind of gestures back towards the otter, kind of hoping that Lutzen might kind of just appear at some point. It's like, my friend who's tending to your brother's paw at the moment. If we can fix your net, and you help us catch a fish, that would be. Well, is that something that you might be interested in? We won't take any of your fish that you would be giving to the salters, but even if you just help us court one under our own steam, that would be incredibly helpful for us.
And again, the Logan pauses and considers, and you notice that all the while he's doing this, he seems to just be like muscle memory, like finding holes in the net and then sort of like tying them back together and fixing them with this kind of wooden tool. And he says, yeah, that would, I feel like that would suit. If you were the one to catch the fish and I could honestly say, yes, boss, it wasn't me, then I feel like that's fair. There's more than enough river for everyone. It's just like, I can't be, it's as a president, you know, that if I help you, then I've got to help someone else because their cousin's in town, and then before we know it, we've got a whole guild thing on. It gets complicated. But I mean, your friend is helping my brother, and he kind of looks up and he still can't see Lutzen.
Oh god.
I can imagine Lutzen now waddled around as he says that, just for cinematics, and is now checking out the other paw for comparison. He just kind of wanders around the other side of the otter.
Yes, and he goes, oh, is that the one who made those teeth for Ivy?
Yes, that's the very same. That's my friend Lutzen Ten Whiskers. He's a craft paw.
Oh. Well, that's fancy. I guess, sure, let's do it. And he kind of sticks his big paw out, still dripping wet from the river.
Pip would very happily take that paw, but I imagine it sort of like envelops like most of her forearm.
You give like you grab onto like one of the toe beans of the hand.
Oh, that's so cute.
And there's a little shake. He goes, well, all right. So, you know anything about mending nets?
You know, it is possible because her parents were like her parents were tailors, so she would probably know a little bit about like sewing and fixing and things like that. So yeah, I think it's possible that she might be able to help fix the net, certainly.
Well, there's something keeps chewing through the holes, and then fish swim through it and then rip the holes bigger. And he holds up a portion of the net and he says, you see, it's all just twisted bits of braided grass, you see, and it can catch fish, and it's nice and strong when it's together, but when you tear one of these, it starts to fray and unwind, and then that leads to the other knots, and then they all fray and unwind. Before you know it, you've got a wet, grassy mess. You have to cut the whole thing out and braid in new grass. I'm quite lucky with this hole, and he holds up the one he's working on and says, this one, I've caught it early, but there are all parts of the net that are just a whole mess of just strands and wet, and might as well just throw the whole thing out and start again.
I think Pip would sort of look at the net, sort of like she takes it in her kind of spindly fingers and says like, we might not necessarily have to start again, but maybe we could reinforce this net with something a little bit stronger than just grasses. And she looks around like, how close are we to some trees right now?
I'd say there's like some young trees nearby. We'll say they are aspens, and there's one oak that seems to be growing from an acorn.
Perfect.
Well, no, not growing from an acorn, but you know that it's like it has grown from an acorn that's been dropped by something.
I think sort of Pip would kind of gesture to these young aspen trees and says, you know, well, these young trees here, their branches will be young and supple and springy, probably quite malleable, and they might be able to reinforce some of the weaker parts of this old net.
Could be quite heavy though.
That's
You
true.
show me how it's done, and we'll try it out.
Because I think what Pip wants to do is she wants to go. I think what she'll do is she'll fly to the top of these sort of like young trees, and she'll look for like the youngest, like the newest branch growths, where they're still like really, like they're quite spindly, but they're very supple, you know, and quite bendy. So like they wouldn't be very heavy, but they are quite like they're sort of fresh and new, and it might be quite good to work with. As a
So
thought.
the otter kind of he kind of lays his net out to dry and then sort of walks along with you. Through the sort of, it's quite short grass here. It's more brush and straggly rooty bits rather than actual like long meadow grass, because it's still quite close to the river. And you get close to one of these trees and you look at the branches. He goes, so what do you want to do? These bits of branch are way too thick to weave into these little netty bits.
Well, Pip says, well, here, let me show you. And I think what she's going to do is she will just sort of hop into the air and sort of fly up to the top of this sort of tree, this young sapling. And when she's at the top, she sort of perched herself as carefully as she can on one of the stronger branches. She would pull down a fresh branch, and sort of, probably with quite a lot of effort, she would kind of start breaking the branch off from the tree.
Okay.
And drop it.
I want you to make a vigor roll for me.
Yeah.
You are trying to methodically and basically with your might, like with your leg claws, your feet are grabbed onto the branch as if you're going to hang from it, and now you're flapping to try and actively tear it off of the tree.
Yeah. Just looking at the pictures the first drawn in the corner. It's the giant,
very good.
It's the giant wing over the otter's face.
I'm
Sorry.
just clearing more space.
Oh my god, I
So
didn't
they
see this
can
extra.
move this slap
Oh.
onto the.
Oh my god.
Perfect.
I will. Sorry, I've been just muted all this time because there's like a loud. Suddenly, there's some manner of works happening on my road, so
Oh, how dare
I'm
they?
gonna remain silent and entertain you guys with some pictures. Sorry, back at it.
Why
I
does it look
hate
like a
that it
Facebook
looks like
group?
an actual hand that's just
Oh,
opening
yeah.
and enveloping.
So creepy. For anyone who's listening at home, the way I tend to think of Pipistrelle is like I cheat a little bit because obviously bats don't have digits like we do, but I have given her a couple of little digits on her hands, and then like what would be on a human hand a pinky is like then the very long finger that becomes the rest of her wing, so she doesn't look entirely terrifying. But anyway, is there anything I can tag? Not really.
Oh my god.
No, okay, it's just gonna have to be a straight vigor roll. Please, no hijinks. Oh, damn it.
Complication. You barely manage to pull it off, but not without consequence. The narrative describes how the situation becomes more complicated. You are pulling at one of these branches, and you start to pull, and it starts to break and starts to tear, and you pull the branch off, and suddenly there is a little crumbling sound as you realize there was a bundle of sticks in the tree that you hadn't realized were there, and suddenly there's a tinkling sound as a whole bunch of like small twigs, grass, and sort of like a proto nest all out of the tree, and a jangling of metallic sounds as well, down into the grass. And you see the Logan below kind of like cover his head with his paws, go, "Oh!" and there's tinkle into the grass and dirt below, and you've now got this sort of like branch which completely unbalances you, and you have to sort of like flap precariously down into the grass below. So you now have a branch.
First drawing.
But why?
Why must you do this?
She's so scary.
Oh.
Oh my god, that's the best. Oh, and a gripping play in 3 parts. But yeah, I think I think okay. Oh, no, actually, hang on. What do I have? Wait, what do I have this week? No, okay. So have I just destroyed someone's nest? Have I just destroyed it, like a home?
Maybe.
No.
You're not quite sure.
Oh no! If I look down, what do I see? Is it just like twigs and branches? Because I heard something metallic in there as well. What was the metallic sound? Can I see it on the ground?
You... I'm seeing the full drawing with the brother help. Oh lord. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, Vera's making some fantastic drawings that make me just want to cry. Yes, focusing. You look around, and the grass here is long enough around the tree and brushy that it would take a dedicated search to try and find what fell down.
Oh, dang it. Okay. I mean, did I at least get the branch that I wanted to get?
You've got the branch, but it seems that the complication is you seem to have broken something that was in the tree originally.
Ah, oh, dang. Okay. With branch in my little bat feet, then I'm gonna fly back down to the ground to deposit the branch, and then say and then ask Logan. It's like, did you see anything just fall out of the tree there?
The otter kind of slowly uncurls from the sort of sheltering falling debris and goes, I didn't see, but I did feel a few things. That wasn't very comfortable. Is that what happens when you pull branches out of trees? I didn't know trees had lots of things in them like that.
Well, I think it is when you do it badly, and she sort of looks a little bit embarrassed. Why do I keep doing this? If you just give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna see if I can find whatever just fell out of the tree, because I have a horrible suspicion I may have just slightly disrupted someone's home. So she's gonna put the branch down in front of Logan and sort of say quickly, it's like, I have a plan for that branch. Just give me a few minutes, and I'm gonna sort of run around and see if I can find whatever it was that just fell out of the tree.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like you to make a cunning check, or describe to me the way that you're searching for these things, these lost, dropped things, or it would be a cunning check. I feel like that's the sort of vibe it's giving me.
It probably will be, because Pip will be she'll be checking quite meticulously. She'll be kind of wandering through the grass, like keeping her wings close in so she's not covering as much of the ground, and like, she'll be hoping that because the grass is just long enough that like her paw, like her little feet might brush against something metallic in the grass and she'll hear it. If she doesn't hear it, she'll see it glinting in the sunlight because we're a little bit more exposed here. So she will be looking sort of methodically, like, okay, I knocked the thing out from here, so it probably fell this way, maybe bounce that way if it's metal, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, if you're being methodical about it, that's actually going to be a vigor check because it's about consistency. So I'd like to make a vigor roll for me.
Dang it! I don't have any. I have nothing I can tag, and my vigor is my worst one.
He ain't got no vigor.
I ain't got no vigor. Dang it. Yay!
A critical success. You are moving around and scanning with your wings and slowly going through the grass, and then you bump against something which is thin and long, and you go over to it and you pick it up, and it looks like some kind of tube. You flip it over and you see that it's got the what's the name of the guild that weren't the Moon Messengers? I think they were the Wing.
Oh, oh my god,
like the Word Wings or something like that.
Oh, it was something like the Word Wings. I've been calling them.
Yeah.
I've been calling them the Noon Messengers as opposed to the Moon Messengers.
Oh, damn! That's a much cooler vibe. Essentially, they are the diurnal, so like birds, messengers as opposed to the nocturnal messengers like bats. These drawings of Pipistrelle has just obtained too much power.
It's like what's that Digimon that like has the like hand ears?
Oh God!
Oh
yes!
my god!
No!
You need to be stopped. This is too much.
Oh my God!
This is Pipistrelle's descent into becoming a tanner.
Oh,
my
no!
gosh! No.
Oh
Wow.
my God! I love it.
We thought that we were afraid of the Mud Furies, but here is Pipistrelle with
Evil.
2 otters in each wing.
Evil.
Oh Lord.
That's outstanding. I love it.
I'm obsessed.
So you see that it is a tube of the we'll call them noon messengers because there is a guild for it, but they're missing from me. If you go to, to be fair, I should probably use this resource myself. If you go to the world map, then you can see through the world anvil all of the guilds that exist currently in the Bristley Woods. I'm going to look that up. But you see that it is a tube from them. You see that it's not sealed. You open it and it's empty. And you look around and you realise this might have been some kind of noon messenger cache.
Ah, okay.
And you find maybe 2 or 3 other message tubes that seem suitable for a bird to have around one of their legs, like wrapped to one of them.
Oh, okay. So, well, at least it wasn't someone's home. I mean, it's maybe not great that I disturbed a messenger's cache, but at least I can fix that, in theory. I think what Pip would do then is if she gathers up all the tubes that she knocked out of the tree, she would kind of stack them at the base of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Just so they're safe, and then she sort of make a mental note to like, okay, I will come back and fix this later because I need to finish helping Logan fix his net first, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so you stack them against a tree and you have your branch. Now, what are you going to do next?
What she's gonna do is once we get back to the sort of the pontoon where Logan's been fishing, I think what Pip's gonna do is she's gonna sit down with this branch and she's going to start using her like claws. She's gonna start like stripping it into kind of like long curly bits of fiber,
Like shredding it almost.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So basically what she's doing is she's kind of she's sort of doing what you would do with grass reeds, but like using this branch because they'll be like a little bit stronger, but still quite sort of bendy and malleable to sort of use as netting for the bits that are sort of damaged, basically. And she's sort of, and as she's doing this, she's kind of explaining to Logan what she's doing and, you know, using her claw to like scrape this sort of bark and then all like the wick into strips, basically.
Mm-hmm. Also, I found the name of them. They're called the Wing Words.
Wing Words, that's it. Thank you.
But I like Noon Messenger better.
So we have the moon messengers and the noon messengers.
And I feel like because the guild's been around just long enough, there's a competition between them, or like there's sort of that, you know, competing companies where like they both have the same like story of like we had the name first and then you copied it.
Yes.
Oh,
that's funny.
They're just
I like
rivals. Rival
Yeah.
Gary.
Well, yes,
Definitely.
because they kind of have competing business because obviously with the flux of the seasons, nights get shorter or nights get longer, and so like use of the business gets very competitive around the solstices.
Yes.
It's like
Yes,
the
like a really
equinoxes,
random-
the spring and the autumn equinoxes.
Yeah. Love that.
Nothing wrong with a healthy competition.
So, I would say you're trying to use your claws as a tool. So make a cunning check to try and shred this branch for the first time with this otter.
Hooray.
You got this.
I still don't have anything that's helpful, so it's going to be a straight roll. Yay!
So that is a 7, a success. You do as well as you can. So I'm going to say you don't do that well at first. You sort of try to scrape the branch, but it doesn't really work. You're kind of like holding and you're kind of scraping with a claw, but the otter goes, Oh, that could work. Hang on. Let me try something. How strong are your claws?
Well, you're reasonably strong. I have good grip strength.
All right. And he kind of looks around and he kind of finds a big rock and he says, okay, and he drags the rock over and says, you brace against this. You lean back into it. I'm going to grab the wood and I'm going to push and you're just going to put the claw out and try and push against it and we'll try and get it to, because you don't really have the draw strength. So I'm gonna push, and you're gonna cut it. Okay.
Okay.
I would like you to make another cunning roll, but this time with advantage because the otter is trying to help you.
Oh, yay, friends. Oh, god damn it. Well, I'll take a
So
complication.
you rolled a
over
1 and a
hijinks.
3, so you have a complication. You barely managed to pull it off, but not without consequence. I'm gonna say, choose a consequence. It is tiring, or it takes a long time. Do you throw yourself into this, or do you go slow and steady?
I think, given that Pip will probably still be a little bit exhausted from the night before, I imagine she'd probably be going slow and steady for this one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna take a long time.
So you communicate well with the otter, and you have to sort of like saw your claws and swap them out as you kind of scratch into this. Ultimately, this would probably be much more effective if you managed to keep your
My
iron
metal
claw from many episodes ago, as opposed to losing it in your fight with the owl. But
my
you
hubris.
slow and steady manage to strip off some example lengths of bark from this fresh green wood, until eventually you're left with sort of like the knobbly core, which is not that effective, and seems to snap too much for it to really be useful, or bend uncomfortably. But you're left with these kind of strips of wood, and the otter bundles them up in his paws. He goes, "Oh, if you come with me, I've got an idea of how we can use them. Unless you've got more to this plan."
No, I think I would like to see how best you think they would be used.
And you go back to the river, kind of both of you kind of waddling, and
river.
because I feel like with a bat you're like wah, 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 and an otter on his hind legs with his hands holding something. He's sort of like hunched over. Have you seen that
Yeah.
video of the beaver with the carrots?
Yes!
Oh my god, yes.
He's sort of like that with this massive stringy pile of
Yeah.
shavings, and he's like rah, 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 with his tail stuck out to balance him. And he goes towards the river, and then he immediately just jumps in with all of the wood.
Oh god.
There's this big whoosh, which is in the river. He doesn't come back out.
Pip is just gonna be like, okay. I think in this moment, then when the otter's in the river and he's not come out yet, what is Lutzen doing? Is he still busy crafting?
You look over to Lutzen, who is doing what?
Lutzen is, I think, after he's kind of, he's only just realised that Pipistrelle has disappeared, but just assumes that's okay. And like, I think he's just been so consumed by creating this like appendage for the otter's paw. I think he's kind of taken things out of his kit. I think he's been trying to use bits of fixings and bits of the bendy metal and some of the stripped ivy that he has to kind of just cobble together some sort of like a grappling claw almost. Because he said it was struggling to get him back out of the banks.
Okay.
Smart.
Yeah.
So
I think just a combination of all the stuff he has.
This is going to be a cunning roll for you. And I'm going to assume you're going to be tagging. Oh, I'm not going to let you tag your ingenious or like that trait that you have or that skill that you have.
Yeah,
the plans
outlandish.
that do work but shouldn't, because you've already done this before.
Yeah, that's true. I'll say spontaneous
Outlandish
construction then
solutions.
if I want to tag.
Yeah.
I want
So
to
I'll let
tag
you
either
tag spontaneous construction. But your outlandish
or-
solutions has happened.
It's on cooldown.
Yeah, that's fair. It's
So-
on cooldown. Oh no.
Make a cunning roll for me then.
Advantage with the
Mm-hmm.
lovely. Oh, they're okay. They're fine.
So,
It's a success.
what did you get? You got a 4 and a 5, a success. You do as well as you can. You have managed to make a prototype claw. It's more of it has no mechanical function to it, but it fits mostly comfortably in the space where the claws would have been. And if this otter is wearing it, then he can haul out of the river, and it puts a lot of the pressure on the wrist for these two spare side claws, and sort of is able to sort of
Yeah, I imagine it's like a wrist brace kind of thing. So it kind of wrist braces, and then like it kind of tucks it over where the in between where the finger joints are, and there's like claws attached through something to kind of it's like a little Wolverine claws kind of.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's like kind of wrist.
And the otter goes, "Oh wow, these are really cool. Can I try them out?"
I would say so, yes, but just be careful. They're just a prototype for just now. It shouldn't fall to pieces, but just be gentle with them.
So you say it shouldn't fall to pieces, and then he immediately whoosh, into the river.
Oh no!
And he's gone.
Fair enough.
And you see the occasional ripple of water as he swims upstream.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sort of sitting on this pontoon. You look around and you see Pipistrelle some way down the river, also on a pontoon, no otter in sight.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought by this point we do not see Pipistrelle falling out of the... Oh no, it didn't fall out of the tree. I thought we kind of rolled back time slightly.
I'm going to say it took long enough for you to construct this. You sort of feel like,
That's
I wonder where Pipistrelle is. Like, this is the moment you realise that Pipistrelle isn't with you. You're
okay.
So Pipistrelle anyway, and you're like, And you look down the river and you're like, what are you doing down there?
I think Watson will start just wandering over just very casually and just say, Pipistrelle, what are you doing over there? You're awful far away. How did you get over there so quickly?
I don't know how long it's been, but say...
I'd say like half an hour.
It's like, Lutzen, you've been doing that for half an hour. I've been helping Logan.
Who's Logan?
And then the water, there's a whoosh, and the otter pokes his head out with these now very limp strands of yew tree shavings that have soaked the water and become very pliable. And he sort of waddles up to the side of the river and then into a wet pile of spaghetti dumps this shaving pile and then sort of scrambles out of the river onto the muddy part of the bank. And he
That's Logan.
Says, I'm Logan, and you're the craft boy who makes teeth, right?
Teeth, claws apparently now, and a few other things. Metal beetles.
I've never heard of a teeth claw,
really
but it sounds impressive.
Thank you. And what are you up to over here?
We're making nets, but your friend here says that we can make them stronger, and then we can catch more fish.
That sounds like an excellent idea.
So we've got these bits of wood and we've soaked them, and now we're going to try weave them. Can you give us a hand?
I can give you a paw. But yeah, of course.
The eagle swoops down and.
Oh no! Shit.
The Beast Fables equivalent of rocks fall.
Yeah. Oh look, an eagle carrying a rat.
So you find yourself now all on this pontoon, looking at this broken net, which has very large. It's made of grass and it's got very large trailing holes in it, large enough for an otter or two to swim through. But something seems to have chewed it, and the net has fallen apart. You've got these endless supply of grass you could weave together, and you've got these strips of soaked yew tree branch. What plan have you got to try and make the net stronger? What are you going to try and do?
I will say, with Lutzen now only really tuning in, we'll ask, have you got any idea what was eating them? What's been eating your nets? Is there something in the water when it's...
The otter turns around and says, honestly, I have no idea. The water's pretty murky and can't really see when I'm swimming down there. And it always seems to be overnight, never during the day.
Curious. Interesting.
Think what would be out at night in water that would shoot through nets. To
Sabotage.
that level, sabotage.
Sabotage.
To that level of
Mud Furies.
Mud Furies.
The only answer.
Clearly, the only
okay. I did have Fraser, maybe not Watson, but Fraser had an idea of maybe coating them in oil so it kind of it's not so nice to chew.
Oh, that's not a bad idea actually.
But
I don't know if that would then it probably wouldn't.
If it was
something
something
like
if it was something like linseed oil, or like tree sap kind of oil, probably wouldn't be that bad.
Lutzen does have the oil can from the beetle still. And obviously there's no beetle. Well, there may still be a beetle, but
Well, that's a side quest we'll need to go back to
Side
at
quest.
some point.
we're taking another side off of.
There are so many side quests. Like there's all that stuff about getting stuff back to a badger and Odok, which we abandoned like 3 months ago.
Fine.
But yeah. Too many side quests.
Well, I think let's just kind of pipe up and say, well, if there's something eating your nets, there's, you can maybe try and ward it away a little bit. And I'm not proud to admit it, but the oil that I've got here doesn't really taste very nice, and I have unfortunately tasted it a few times, unintentionally.
Of course,
fully.
Yes.
The doctor goes, "Oh well, we've all got different tastes, and some over.
It's really not so nice. It's really not that nice.
I'll
Feel free
be
if
the
you want
judge
to
of
try some."
that."
And he will kind of pass over the oil cans, like, please, just a tiny little drip.
And he kind of sticks his paw onto the can, licks it. He goes, "Ugh."
Yeah,
No, it's not nice.
Not that nice. No.
He makes that sort of scrunched up, like, face that otters do.
Like when you give dogs something funny.
Oh.
Like,
Otters are so cute.
very good.
Because, well, we can put it on here and see what it does. I'll definitely won't say no.
Absolutely.
So
you can
why
try and
don't
massage
you-
it on?
Yeah, why don't you go around with your can and massage it onto the other bits of the net that are whole, while me and Pipistrelle, will try and weave these bits of bark into knots for the nets, and then by the time we finish that, you can probably start massaging it into the new parts of the net, alright?
Sounds like a plan.
Perfect.
Okay, so I want you, Pipistrelle, to describe how you're helping this otter, and I want you, Lutzen, to describe how you are massaging it, or like how you're going about making the oil and net thing.
Okay.
Fraser, do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You can go first. Go for it.
Okay. I think what Pip will be doing is, because she has sort of these quite long, sort of dexterous little fingers, because I imagine that the otter is kind of using like a hook tool to like sew the net back together. Because obviously otters have got sort of quite little stubby paws. And Pip obviously doesn't need one of those because she has these sort of like quite long fingeries. So she's just using her hands and sort of using one of her what would kind of be on like a human hand, like her index finger. She's like hooking the branch, like pulling it through. She's being quite sort of, she's concentrating quite hard on what she's doing, because obviously she doesn't want to mess it up, and she doesn't want to she wants to help this otter because she thinks he's really sweet. So
Okay,
that's
so
what she's doing.
that sounds like a vigor check for you.
Dig it.
Pipistrelle, because you're being methodical. And Lutzen, what kind of check do you think you're making? It gave me a lot of vibes.
Yeah, I have a couple of solutions. I think that the thing that would make the most sense would to go one by one, and kind of like, kind of just take it in his paws and kind of rub it on and kind of try and coat it and rub it in and kind of massage it onto each strand individually. The other option is to find some sort of little well and try and like bathe them all in it and like massage them all in together as a group, so it gets it done quicker.
Okay.
So find like a little
So,
well, or like
do you want to go one by one, or do you want to go by well?
I think he will go for like the well and find like a little somewhere that he can put the oil into, like a little dip in the stone or something.
Yeah.
And just kind of set them all in and try and cover it that way.
That's going to be a cunning check because you're trying to use tools to make the job go faster. So we're going to start with Pipistrelle. That's going to be a vigor check, s'il vous plaît.
Silver plate.
Silver plates.
Yes.
A 5. A success.
A success.
Oh my god. Hand Pipistrelle can't hurt you.
Yes, she can.
Yes, she
God,
definitely can.
memes.
Yes, she can.
Memes. So you are successful. I'm going to say that you're actually really good with your smaller claws for forming the knots. So the otter is directing you with these strips of bark and says, right, I've woven it into the strand here now, over through and then down here, and the rabbit goes into the thing and back out again, and giving you little metaphors. He says hare, not rabbit. And you're able to quickly tie these sort of knots together. I say quickly, methodically tie these knots together. Lutzen, I'd like you to make a cunning roll for me.
Okay, can I tag my scavenging to find a suitable spot to do this?
Yes.
Cool.
Smart.
Okay, a 5 will do
So you
for
roll
me.
a 5 and a 2, so you do as well as you can. I'm going to say that you don't find a stone with a dip, but the soil here is very, very dry. You're able to then pack it out into a little bit, and the oil is quite thick and gooey. You line it with some like a big leaf that you found to make it so that the oil doesn't soak into the ground. I'm just
like
seeing
a
another
waxy
picture
leaf
of
kind
Hand Pipistrelle. It's getting worse and worse. And worse.
It's progressively getting so much worse.
What are you doing to me?
I think this is now. We need to tag Ver back in now because this is just getting out of hand.
Yeah, we're going to transition to. Oh my god!
I love it.
Why are they so masculine?
I'm so impressed by how well you can draw hands freehand.
I know.
Oh no!
I mean, very fortuitously, that loud truck just left.
Oh
Wow! It's almost as
So-
if the universe is playing to our favor.
The universe is afraid.
The universe is terrified of what creations have been made. Pipistrelle
Right.
uses wing
So-
attack.
Oh no.
God.
Clap.
Slap.
Anyway,
Wing
sorry.
attack is a slap at this point.
Clap.
So, oh god, it's got claws as well. It's anime now.
Oh god.
Hand
So
hand
you,
hurt.
I'm going to say that you massage the oil through these knots, and ultimately you both complete your tasks, and you are about to put the net into the water, and the otter is you're holding the net on the bank, and then the otter is swimming the other side of the net out into the river. Logan says, "I think this will be real effective." But once we get this in, it's going to be a bit of a waiting game to see what we get come through.
Well, that
He kind of
sounds
swims
alright.
over and he starts staking it with wooden stakes at the other side of the river. And as he dives into the water, the camera dives with him, and the murky green filters up. And then we see it transition into grass, and it pans up again. And we see Balthazar walking away from the wolf.
Ooh.
Very cinematic.
Balthazar. Oh god, please stop.
Please
Help. these hand bats are terrifying, though.
This needs to be documented and kept forever.
I will screenshot these and put them onto Twitter.
I've
With
already
detailed
done part of it.
descriptions if you aren't able to see the images.
I've already done the first Brother Help 3.
Yeah, the first one of Pip committing terrible crimes.
Oh, this is
so
this
bad.
is. Oh my god! This is hand
just-
bat smacking
Bonk.
a wolf.
Yeah.
So cheap.
Oh god. For those who can't tell or who are viewing on a viewable platform, I don't even
We're
know
all
if I can
losing
even
our
describe
minds
it.
over- No, it's
Ver has
okay,
been drawing
how-
pipistrelles with actual hands instead of wings, and it's terrifying.
So instead of a bat wing, obviously it's the kind of leathery thing with the the long digits, which would be human fingers. They are just two giant hands appearing on the side of a tiny bat, but not like in the shape of bat wings, like actual
Human hands with claws now.
with claws. Yes.
Oh, I forgot the claws. Yeah, thank you.
Oh no!
Oh no. Oh god.
So what have we done?
Actually, you know what? No, this one.
No.
Has
No. I feel like the natural progression there is it's not claws; they're just acrylics.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop
Oh,
it.
yes. Yeah, yes. They are. Hang on.
Who's turning the Patrick meme into Pip?
Oh god.
It's the only way. Anyway,
Oh yeah, I'm playing.
It's your
I'm back.
It's
I'm
me,
sorry.
Balthazar. I just had the strangest thought. What if Pipistrelle just had giant hands
Ew.
instead of her wings?
I'm losing my
So,
mind.
This is too
The
much.
tone of the. Oh, I was going to play some music, but it's not playing. Come on.
I did hear. There we go. I did hear music for a second.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't work for you, but it does for us. It's a weird little quirk of this platform.
a sadness. Well, you can hear the song music, but I can't, and the people at home can't. Hang on, I'm just going to play different music.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's a shame. 'Cause that's one of my. That's one
I
of my
really
favorite
like
tracks that
this
you
song.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It does feel
gonna.
very Balthazar in serious mode. That one.
I have reloaded the page.
Uh-huh.
That might help.
Rebooting always fixes.
Technical difficulties.
everything.
Apologies.
This little break also helps reset the tone a sec. You are walking away from the wolf and feeling rather introspective, Balthazar.
I
I'm
am.
also going to scroll the screen down away from these abhorrent images. No, I love them. You are moving away from the wolf and feeling introspective. You've just finished your conversation, and the wolf has said that it would consider its interviews and finish up its notes, but it seemed like it was very heavily considering moving on to Blueberry Pond.
Good.
What are you doing now?
I think. About what time is it of the day?
I'd say it's mid-afternoon. It was morning, but the conversation went on longer than you expected. The pauses that we had were longer as well. And maybe there was like a couple moments and breaks in the conversation where you simply watched the wolf taking notes of Willowmoot, and now the sun has risen significantly in the sky.
I think Balthazar kind of looks up at that sun and thinks to himself that whatever foul deed Tanner Flynn wants to commit is this night, and he doesn't agree with it. So I think his thought is that he would like to. Okay, sorry. Did the wolf pack up and leave, or
no? The wolf was still there, but said
it's still
would,
there. We just
you got the idea that it wanted to stay maybe a day longer, but it's considering, which is more than you could have hoped for. You think? In a conversation
I rolled
like
I rolled some good persuasions for that wolf. I think Balthazar can't like rest on his laurels. He's not gonna go back and like enjoy some more soup or something. I think he feels that he needs to find Pipistrelle and Lutzen and tell them what he's learned.
So you start to describe what the walking away from the wolf. What kind of route are you taking?
He's going to. Well, he knows that they have to go fish, and as a toad, he has some. And having had like been stationed at Bramble Dam, he has some familiarity with like rivers, and he knows that they didn't pass him to get to the river. So if he goes, because there's a river that he can probably see from where he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he figures if he goes to the river and then walks downstream, or I suppose upstream rather, because it's going to go downstream to the lock. If he walks, in the direction, like left or down of Aspengrace, that he might run into them.
So you're going to walk along the path along the river, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you eventually catch them. You notice that the river has a rather sudden start. It seems to be coming from some kind of underground channel, and kind of emerges out of a sort of a rocky ledge, and steadily gets larger as there are many tiny tributaries that feed into it. But the majority of the water seems to be some from underground spring. And you walk alongside it along the path for maybe 5 minutes, away from windmills, over the hill, and down towards this river, and you get this sudden feeling that you're being watched. And you turn around and you see Flynn emerge with the slight rustle of grass out of a nearby brush, and walk slowly, languidly towards you.
Balthazar, am I near the river?
The mouth of it, but not anywhere you could see the others or any otters. You're at the very, very
but
beginning.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to stop and kind of stand, because I imagine I wanted to say that if he's going on the side, like he'd walk on the ground that's more like moist and muddy because it's nice on his feet.
Yeah.
So I think he will stand where he Yeah, he'll kind of stand in that area where basically with a single kind of bound or leap, he could make it into the water.
Yeah. Okay.
But he see like he if he does, you gave that to me for free that he sees Flynn. So he just kind of stands his ground. He's not a big fan of Flynn, so he's kind of like kind of does a little croak. Just as a harumph.
So Flynn slowly stalks up to you, pauses before going towards the kind of the muddier, wetter ground, looks a little disdainfully, and says, "Well, hello to you too."
Oh,
that
I mean,
conversation. Sorry.
No. Okay, no. That's fine. That's fine.
That conversation with the wolf was unexpected. I didn't think it to have such a approachable demeanor. What do you think it will do next?
Well, I think that it wants to interview Lutzen and Pipistrelle, and then it will go. It's why I was going to walk down to have them come here and speak with it. I don't like your idea of poisoning it. I think that if we let it have these interviews, hopefully it will go to Blueberry Pond, and I dare say it will become a ward of Blueberry Pond.
When you say poison it, the cat's ears twitch, and Flynn looks around, up and down the road. There aren't any beasts around. And it looks back at you with those sort of like half-closed eyes, and says, "I'd rather it if you didn't announce the plan as vocally as you do. It sort of ruins the element of surprise. But I would agree. I would rather deal with the wolf directly, but if we can move this on without any likelihood of bloodshed, then that is most likely the ideal solution. Though, it still doesn't address the fact that it sets a bad precedent. How would you get the wolf to leave in a way that would mean no other predators would approach and see Aspengrace as easy pickings?"
Balthazar will consider this, and he says, well, I don't know much about setting a scene that would be convincing, but perhaps stories would suffice. If the wolf is gone by nighttime, well, some people knew that we were talking with it, and rumors spread like wildfire. We could just present a different story than what happened, or simply say, well, we told it what for, and well, then again, I have to say, I say all this, but if this wolf's intentions are what they say they are, and I do believe that, I would like it to become a part of Bristley Woods, if it agrees to live like we do, become a ward of Blueberry Pond. Those same rumors could one day work against it. Well, some weeks ago, when we were on our way from Brambledam, we passed a town called Mushroot, and there was an owl there. It was a scary thing, and I think it did not have the entirety of its sanity, but it deemed itself a protector of Mushroot. What if this wolf is something like that? A wandering protector of little beasts? With a story like that, well, what predator would dare go up against a wolf?
Flynn's ear twitches when you mention Mushroot. And the tone of the conversation becomes very cold. Flynn's eyes widen a little bit, and his pupils dilate slightly as well, and he seems to look at you very intently. And Flynn says,
Why did your eyes do that?
You've touched a lot of delicate subjects there, Balthazar. Wait, does he know your name? I can't remember if he does.
Yes, I think I introduced myself.
Yeah, Balthazar. First of all, there has been quite a lot of wildfire in these parts recently, as I've heard. And you and I know that wildfire is uncontrollable. We need to make sure if rumour is the approach we'll take to dealing with this wolf, that it's dealt with effectively and in a controlled manner. And as for Bushroot, that is a wonderful example of how even the most well-intentioned of predators can turn vicious.
Well,
I was called in to deal with the situation at Bushroot. That's why I was delayed in coming to Aspengrace.
That owl? Did it sow more chaos? Was it attacking people?
Bushroot was abandoned some 6 months ago. Earlier in the winter, when unfortunately their food was running low and, well, the boars had very much attacked that part of the woods. I think the owl stayed out of duty, assuming they'd return, but the little lizards that lived there never did. And, well, I think it got... I won't presume. I think loneliness played a part, but ultimately, whatever that owl thought, there was no coming back from the place it was in. It was roaming out and attacking travellers, as I'd been told by Fangwatch, and I had to deal with it. Quickly, I'm not cruel, but it wasn't... Well, it makes me wary of all predators.
Well, that is understandable. Just like the likes of me, or my friends, are wary of predators like you. Aren't you different?
Flynn's eyes narrow, and then says, "What are you implying?"
Well, you are a wildcat.
I would never intentionally harm a beast to eat them.
And I believe that. But I'm sure that there are wildcats unlike yourself out there. Same as there are wolves unlike that one out there. I've even seen smaller beasts than you that were hunting me and my friends just the other day. It's just how it goes in this world, isn't it? Or doesn't it?
It doesn't have to be like that. That's why the Tanners are here. You might not understand, but with us, there can be a change to how things are.
Well, I understand that. But that wolf, I don't think it warrants changing, and you agree. Now we just have to think. Well, you have brought up a lot of additional points to what really is the main problem we're trying to figure out, which is, I suppose, how to stop other creatures unlike that wolf. And I understand this is a sore point, but also unlike you, from targeting this place.
Flynn
I'm
is
sorry.
very... You are getting, like, a very cold stare from Flynn.
Balthazar don't care. Well, I think he in turn is actually looking very intensely at Flynn as well. Like, it's a... he has that trait of disarming honesty.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the whole thing of like, toads occupy like that very particular place, right? And I think because of that, they kind of can speak very candidly about things. And also he saw people die in the Boer War. Like, I feel in some way he's very candid about this aspect of the world. And he's not exactly like, oh, this is a touchy subject. It's like, no, this is how it is. And yeah, and
I think with that tone of honesty, Flynn's gonna respond and say, I don't kill beasts because I enjoy it. I don't do it because I need to eat. I do it because it has to be done.
I think
now
Balthazar...
you could hang on. He's not finished.
Sorry,
he's not,
sorry.
and he's giving you a look in such a way where I feel like if you were to try and interrupt, he'd give like a very cold stare, and you'd have to try and make. It's a very intimidating presence, and I know that Balthazar doesn't care, but like this is a real contest of wills right now.
I didn't know that you're gonna continue talking.
Oh no, that's fine. But if you do want to interrupt me, go ahead. But like that's just to communicate like the vibe he's giving. So Flynn says, I do it because it has to be done. And I don't think you understand what it's like to see or to live as someone who everyone sees as a murderer, but isn't. I deal with this wolf because I've been, first of all, paid to, but second of all, because I know that its presence would, like the owl, eventually end in the deaths of many. That's not something I really appreciate.
Does he look like he's done?
He pauses and considers, and then says, as a final thing to add on, I'm hearing of changes where animals, beasts like me, are being persecuted simply because of what they are. That puts me in a difficult position because I simultaneously want to stop creatures like this wolf from, simply by their presence, harming everyone that I live around and with. And equally, I am the same. I understand the situation is very nuanced. And now he's done.
So Balthazar would have been hearing him out, and he says, I don't know what it is like to live your life and perform your duties. And he kind of pats the boar tooth hammer and says, I know something about death, and I know something about killing in a different degree, but it's never done out of with any joy. If I could have talked to those boars, I would, but there was no reason with them. So we too had to do what we had to. I'm sorry, Tanner Flynn. I'm sorry that you find yourself on this precipice of two worlds. I don't know what it's like. It must be very difficult for you. I suppose I can see how my words would have hurt you, and I apologize for that. I didn't mean to rile you. We are from two different worlds, after all. And some things simply are fact for me that aren't the same things aren't facts for you, and vice versa. I would hope that, well, especially after speaking with this wolf, it seems to be somebody like you. Somebody who, well, was born as what they were, but seek out a different order in the world.
Flynn
I
is
wouldn't
going to say
want...
something. You're not done. Cool.
No, he can. If Flynn wants to interrupt, he can.
Yeah, so Flynn interrupts and says, "This is all very well. I understand the situation, and that's why I'm amenable to not poisoning the wolf." And he says that quietly. However, the world doesn't change in a day. The Bristley Woods isn't ready for a wolf to be walking around, which is why I ask how we're going to deal with this in a way that leaves everyone comfortable.
Well, I have to say, Well, I'm a knight. This is not exactly my area of expertise. Would you have any suggestions to start with, and maybe we can bounce some ideas? You seem to have a much more nuanced notion of all the delicate balances that are at stake here. The world of Blueberry Pond, I find, or am continuously finding, is very different to the world of the Bristley Woods at large. You are one of the beasts that live here. You're one of its denizens. What would you propose?
Well, to maintain the status quo, you know what I would have done, but that situation is not viable anymore, not in the way that I think it is. While we talk, let's wander to try and find the others. And he gently starts to walk on all fours so that he's closer to you, so he's not towering over you as much, along the river towards, presumably, where Pipistrelle and Balthazar is. And he continues, he says...
Tanner Flynn, should you like to move a little away from the bank? It seems that, well, your paws aren't as well suited to the mud as mine, but I don't mind walking on firm ground.
Well, I'll... He takes the suggestion, he nods, and walks a little away, but you can still hear each other. He's on drier parts. He just sort of wasn't walking directly straight up to, be next to you, because it's ew, mud.
Yeah. Balthazar just wanted to be nice.
Yes, and he kind of acknowledges that. I'm going to change the music, because the tone has changed a bit as well.
Tension.
I love it. I love going from sort of ridiculous fishing adventures to really serious conversations about the philosophy of the Bristley Woods.
Literally, the philosophy of do we kill or be killed?
Exactly.
It's oh my god. I just want to fish for tiny fish. Tiny beasts.
Actually, as we talk, I'm going to swap the camera over back to Pipistrelle and Lutzen. So we'll say we'll end that scene with, or that part of the scene with Flynn saying, "Yes, I think we should bounce some ideas together. I feel like my role is to maintain the status quo, and you're here to change it. But I, like the wolf, I see a lot of parallels between us. This is a complex situation." And that would then presume you now are having a conversation as you walk towards Balthazar and Pipistrelle. So, back with you guys, I'm going to say that it's been a few hours. It is now the afternoon. You are waiting. Very... You're waiting for a fish to come through the net.
I think after a short while, I think Lutzen would get a little bit skittish and a little bit kind of impatient. His feet would start he'd be sitting down, but I think his little feet would start twitching, and he'd kind of his little nose would start going, and he'd kind of get distracted by things flying by.
I'd say that you're twitching distractedly and bored, and you're trying to be really attentive, and you're struggling, and then there's this whoosh as the brother otter comes out of the river, and Logan turns and says, "Eden, what are you doing?" And the otter, known as Eden, comes out of the river, and he kind of looks very dejectedly at you, Lutz, and he says, "I'm really sorry, but I broke it." And he holds up the dangling, broken test contraption, It's caked in mud. Some of the straps have come loose.
First prototype. We tried the first time. We can only go up from here. Pass it. Give me your paw again. Let me just have a nosy. See what you've done.
And he sort of wiggles his paw, and there's this muddy claw contraption falls off that you've made.
Watson's eyes kind of widen and kind of like, and like one little eye starts twitching a little bit, and he's like, "It's fine."
It's wet and it's gritty.
Oh, great. Well, we made it successful on the first time. Let me see what I can find and see if we can figure something else out here. Something a little bit more durable. And if there's any more of that kind of oil slicked branch strips that we had, I think since having dealt with that and the net, we've kind of had like a backup prototype kind of in mind.
Mm-hmm. So
using slightly more sturdy materials.
You're working away at the prototype, and you are tinkering away with that as you're idly sitting by the river. Logan is able to have quiet conversation. He says, "You don't want to be too loud. You don't want to scare the fish away."
Yes.
Pipistrelle, what have you been doing?
I think while we've been waiting, aside from sort of periodically sort of wandering back to see whether or not we've caught any fish, Pip has been trying to reassemble that Noon Messenger's cache that she destroyed earlier.
I'm going to say make a cunning roll for me to see how well you're able to sort of like build it back into the tree.
Finally. It's something that I'm good at.
If you get a hijinks, I will laugh so hard.
Please. Okay, in that case, can I tag my efficient packing? So I'm quite good at organizing things and putting things away
that's
again.
Very good.
I'd say, yeah, that perfect way of putting a nest back together.
Hooray! Thank God.
Oh my God.
Because you did roll hijinks, but you also rolled a success.
You cursed that, Brian.
You've never put a nest together before, because bats don't live in nests. But you have made baskets to hold various spools of cloth and stuff that your mum's made in the shop before. So you make a basket out of bits of twig and grass, and then you put all of the stuff back. It is clear that this has been tampered with, but everything is back in its place.
Okay, well, I think she'd kind of do that sort of half-hearted, like, well, it's a something. Like, kind of realize that she's a little bit licked on this, and be like, well, everything is in the right place, so I'll just leave it.
And I'm going to say that also with that success, you were scanning around the area and you found a few other bits. So not just tubes, but you found a waxed roll of paper. So it's clearly like a sheet of papers, and they've been encased in a wax so that they are good against the weather. There are a few sticks, or a few small candles of wax that you can light and then melt around the tube to seal it.
Ah, very cool.
There is a single pot of ink, very small, that survived the fall because it's in a glass vial with a square base. And there are I feel like there are some dried worms in a pack.
Oh, I mean, if we're talking, if the Noon Messengers is full of songbirds, which I imagine it probably is, it'll be, depending on the songbird, it'll either be like mealworms, candied aphids, seeds and
I feel like it's
small seeds and things like that.
It doesn't look necessarily appetizing. They're dried worms. They're not seeds.
Yeah.
Specifically so they don't get wet and sprout.
Very smart.
So you understand it. They look unflavored, more like a trail
so
ration necessarily than a food. And
Makes
they're
sense.
densely packed into sort of like a cube that you could peck at if you were a bird.
I think low-key, she's not going to, but low-key Pip is like, I wonder if they would miss that wax paper. And then she's like, no, get a hold of yourself. And she, enough trouble for one trip. And she puts everything back as best it can in this sort of ramshackle nest that she's made for the birds.
So you spend your time reassembling this Noon Messenger. You have variants of these as moon messengers. this is a cache that a messenger could fly to if they've run out of supplies in the middle of the journey, or if they need to write messages, or if they've been commissioned in the middle of a flight, if they've been flagged down and they need to write something down, or maybe a message gets damaged and needs to be resealed, and also a stopover point if they are flying a long journey. These are secret, and the locations of these are only disclosed. For the same, it would be for moon messengers. They're only disclosed if it's relevant to your path. So if your flight path.
Yeah, I imagine that Pip during the Boer War, when she was carrying messengers in between sort of a few notable landmarks, would probably have stopped over at some during the daytime to rest if she was going a long distance. But obviously the moon messenger equivalent, not the noon messenger ones.
Yeah, so the moon messengers are sort of like hollows of rocks, and sheltered locations. That's the thing.
Yeah, like hollow trees and things like that to sit inside, out of the sun probably. But yeah, sorry. Little bit of world building there.
So you've reconstructed that nest. Lutzen, you've made a second, stronger prototype based off of the first. And then you see both Logan and Eden look and go, Suddenly a tent. And they both look over at the net and they notice that it's got a bit taut. It seems to be bowing slightly. And they both get very excited and say, there's a fish.
And Pip would be like, really?
Do we dive in and get it, or does it just climb itself out?
Eden laughs at that. I think almost a little bit because you've got a tickly part of his paw as you're attaching the second prototype again. And Logan goes, No, we'll have to go in and get them ourselves. And he sleekly dives into the water and swims down into the murk. This isn't Eden, this is Logan, the brother who doesn't have the thing.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, I was supposed to say
and he swims into the water, and then about half a minute later emerges with a small perch in his mouth, kind of wiggling and flipping. And it's about as big as you, Lutzen. It's a big, scaly fish with these sort of like large fins that stick out and a weird, wide, squat face. And it is the ugliest thing you have ever seen. It's not even a lick of fur.
Look horrified. Like, oh, you're a nasty looking one.
Mm-hmm. And he flops it out. This? He flops it out onto the wooden pontoon, and then Eden kind of gets up away from you, and then with his good hand picks up a rock and then just bash.
Oh God, yeah.
I think Watson
make sure that the fish isn't suffering anymore.
Uh-huh.
Yikes.
Oh dear. Yikes. Well, I'm glad I'm not eating fish.
Yeah, I think Pip at sort of seeing obviously like the killing of a fish would be like, oh, you know, because it's quite a sort of, it's quite a nasty process watching a fish get battered.
Yeah.
And now that it is an ex-fish, an ex-perch,
ex-perch. Oh my God.
Logan gets out of the water and he says, right, that's one. Now, next time there's a fish, as per my agreement with your friend Pipistrelle, you'll have to go in and get it.
What? Pipistrelle, this was not part of the deal. What?
Oh dear, why did I not think of this? Okay, she just kind of like agrees because she doesn't know what else to do. This is going to be interesting. I don't think Pip can swim.
I was going to say, I think Watson's just kind of looking between, like, flipping his head between Pip and the otter, just like, what?
Pip sort of turns to Luz and is like, I did make an agreement with this otter here that so we didn't mess up his deal with the salters nearby. You know, we had to get the fish ourselves, but I know, I'm sorry, I didn't think this through.
It's fine. We'll figure it out. Oh dear.
Logan looks at the two of you looking very distressed and then says, well, why don't you help me with the next one? and then when you've had some practice, you can get your own fish for your friend.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Sounds like a plan. I think in the meantime, I think Lutzen is going to start taking his stripped ivy, and is going to start tying it into, like, attach it to something to try and create like a rope to kind of throw ourselves in with and pull ourselves back out with.
Smart.
So I'm going to say you tie the rope to like one of the thicker logs of the pontoon for like sturdiness.
Having had experience in the mud that Pipistrelle found him in the first place.
God, yes.
Remember that this kind of worked in the first place, but it would be better if it was actually stably tied to something more stable. So recalling on his previous attempts to kind of prototype something a bit better.
So
Good plan.
what approach have you got for wrestling a fish out of the water?
You said it's about the size of... Oh, I mean, I assume Lutzen's going to have to go in and get it because... Well, yeah, I don't think Pip's strong enough to lift a big fish out, really.
She's really small.
Yeah,
and,
like you're much smaller than I.
And if she like the problem with bats is like, you know, if
Hollow
their
bones.
hollow bones for one thing, but also if their wings get wet, like it's not great for them because obviously they have that kind of leathery, kind of, you know, that sort of leathery
Fuzzy
skin.
leather. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, whereas rats actually can
Rats
be
are actually quite watery.
Yeah, they are quite adept swimmers.
Yeah.
So I feel like
I think
Lutzen
stretch his toes out and be like, it's been a while, but I think I'm willing to dive in and try.
Yeah, I feel like Lutzen would have a slightly better chance of like not getting swept away by a fish. Also, just because he is just that little bit bigger, whereas Pip is just a wee baby thing.
Oh, can Lutzen also?
You have permission to go.
I'm thinking, I do have my backpack. Could I try and empty the things out of the backpack to try and either like scoop the fish up with, or like...
Your backpack is not big enough to scoop up a fish.
Okay, well, I thought I was being inventive and tried.
No, it's just the scale of it.
that's
The
fair.
fish is as big as you. You wouldn't be able to fit in your backpack. So the fish, like you could,
Not
you
with
could
that
use it
attitude.
like a what's the word? Like a muzzle, but it's not big enough to
Oh my
like.
god, and ride I want to do that and ride the fish out of the water.
Oh my god.
I'm going to
Okay.
tame it in the water. No,
So I'm gonna say, are you going to go with that plan? That sounds fun.
Sure, why not? I'm
my
going to
God.
take the broken gear as a backup to like bop it on the head. Or no, actually no. I'll pass that to Pip and say, here, if you take this, all you got to do is just bop it on the head. It's pretty simple by what we just saw. I'm not a big fan of it either, but it's going to have to work.
Oh, all right. But what are you going to do?
Well, figure it out when I get in there.
Lutzen, are you sure this is a good idea?
Not at all.
Oh god. Oh, by the
Okay.
moon. Well,
I'm gonna say it's maybe you've got a few minutes before another perch comes along. Estimates Logan. So if you're going with this sort of like lasso ride vibe,
I'm gonna wrangle
you're
it.
able to measure out a rough sort of like harness on the dead perch,
oh my god.
That's my plan.
using the bag as sort of like the shell of the bag that the bag is in as sort of like a muzzle for the face to get smushed into, and then some strings to sort of like try and hook around it and to try and ride it out.
Oh my god, that's
Yep.
You then
That's it.
swim out on Logan's back, ready to dive in and to try and ride a perch out of the water. That makes sense. You're
Yep.
poised and ready.
Very quickly, remember everyone that we have our boons.
Oh yes, that is very
Because
true.
I
That is very
definitely forgot about it when I was
Oh,
done
Lord.
with Flynn.
True.
And none of them are really helpful for either of us.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't
Well,
realize.
Well,
Well, Rip
I'm
and
sure we'll figure something
Pepperoni,
out. For now. At least.
Oh no!
the one where Lutzen drowns.
Oh,
Oh my
god,
God.
no.
In this episode of Friends.
So, the net twitches, and Logan, who has been floating sort of like an otter log on the water, gives you a little wink and says, "Go on, it's your chance."
Oh
Well,
god.
Oh, wish
A
me luck,
sassy
buy me
rascal.
whiskers. And you'll just kind of cannonball in.
Mm-hmm.
Tuck his little feet up as he jumps in.
You go into the water, and
Uh-huh.
there's sort of this around you as the whole noise of the world changes. You kind of open your eyes through squint. You kind of squint, and the water.
I've got
is a little...
goggles. I have
Oh, you've got
goggles.
goggles. So
I have
you're able to
goggles.
see. It's as if underwater the world is covered in a tiny you're surrounded by silt that's kicked up by the water, and it's like you're in the middle of a snowstorm, except it's dirt.
Ew.
Delicious.
And you see the world is green, in tones of green and yellow and occasionally like blue, and you see this bright yellow, kind of yellow-white fish wiggling in the net. Its head is sort of stuck in one of the holes, and it's sort of fiercely trying to wiggle back and forth, and the current of the river is strong enough that it can't swim back away from it.
Right, got it. Okay.
What do you do?
Wilson's just gonna go. He's just gonna go for it. He's gonna try and first get like a bit of the kind of rope kind of harness around its belly, I guess, and like round its back to kind of twist it like onto its side so it's lying sideways on the net. And then we'll try and latch the kind of backpack over its front. And try and kind of urge it to move parallel to the net, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I want you to make a cunning check because you're using this new tool that you've made.
Okay. Like hell, I'm tagging outlandish solutions because this should not work. And that's the whole point that this is there for. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, for God's sake.
You
Well,
rolled a 2 and a
that's fair.
3. A complication. You barely managed to pull it off, but not without consequence. You slip the harness around the fish, and it immediately starts bucking and swimming. It manages to, with you pulling on it, free itself from the net.
Oh
And
God!
it is now swimming upstream as fast as it can. I'm going to say, as the complication, you actually become tangled in the net. You're underwater, you're holding onto this fish. The fish is swimming and pulling you and the net with it. And from above the water, you hear the very kind of like of surprised sounds as you are dragged upstream by this perch that is swimming, blinded by your like
Oh, it's still got the thing on it. Oh God.
the conker shell that's on it, and it's like, and it's all just like rushing water. What are you doing?
Oh God.
Oh God. I think Wilson's just gonna try and wiggle his way out, I guess. Oh, I don't really have anything. Well, actually, no. Can I see what part of me is caught worst
It's
in the net?
one of your feet and your tail. It seems to be tangled up.
Okay, with my eye for detail, as a journeyman engineer, can I try and quickly unravel that? Being able to see and like see how the knot's tied and how my paw and tail are caught.
You could let go of the harness to untie yourself from the net, but you can't do it one-handed.
No. I don't want to lose my rucksack. I feel like that's the only option, really. So, oh God. So, like, I'm being drawn forward by this, like, fish, and I'm caught in the net. Does it? If I keep holding on, will it pull taut at any point and yank me free?
You could see what happens.
I'm gonna do that. I don't want to let go. I'm not letting go just yet.
Okay,
Oh,
so
God.
the fish is bucking. This is going to be a contested vigor check.
Okay. Can I tag my? Okay, this is gonna sound really ridiculous. With my beetle aficionado and trying to study beetles, and having worked with like the beetle car and how chaotic that was, I would say that Lutzen is quite good at the kind of chaotic movement, or knowing how to deal with those kind of chaotic movements. Possibly.
I would say, what skill are you tagging for this?
I was going to say the beetle aficionado, but I don't know if it just makes sense to have just like having built and dealt with the kind of beetle car, which had a very unique way of moving.
Well, did you study beetles?
I did study beetles, yeah.
So maybe you're good at wrangling wild bucking animals. I mean,
I suppose, yeah, I'm thinking of the scale
creatures.
as Fraser size to beetle size. But yeah, yes.
I would say
They're bigger, technically.
To study the beetles and how their legs moved, you did have to pick them up and wrangle with them. And while that was on a much smaller scale, that kind of like they have a very powerful like punch if you get the wrong end of them. So I'd say yes, you can tag that skill, so you do have advantage. Yeah. The fish has advantage because it is swimming, and swimming is its only skill.
Well, that's just not fair. Oh. Okay.
So the fish rolled an 8 and a 6, which beats your success. I'm going to say you both get what you want. The fish slips out of the harness as it yanks you from the net. So it's sort of like it pulls forward, and then when you're freed from the net, that like shoots you forward a little bit, and it managed to slip out from the harness and then swim away upstream. But not before you hear a whoosh, and you see a dark shadow chomp into the fish and then swim up onto the bank. Your breath starts to burn in your lungs, and you're forced to surface with the sort of tangle of your harness in your arms. You take a deep breath, whereas the water kind of like breaks around you, and you see Logan on the riverbank with as he's laying down the perch, and then Eden just bonk with a rock.
God.
I think Wilson's pretty frazzled after that.
Oh, bless him.
I think
Logan dives back into the water and fishes you
Oh.
out with a much gentler onk. He kind of like doesn't jump onto you, but he sort of like in some way you pick up a pup, sort of like lifts you out of the water with his mouth and puts you on the riverside with your harness.
I think Lutzen kind of lands cautiously, kind of in that kind of shocked state of like legs wide, arms out to the side, and he's just like, that didn't go quite to plan. And I'll shake himself off.
And as you're shaking yourself off, Logan goes, but for your first time in the water, that did real good. I mean, you had it. I'd just say next time, maybe tuck your tail in. It's not a big issue with us otters, because ours are much bigger, but yours is real stringy. If it gets in that net, it can get real wound up.
Yeah, noted. I'll make him, figure that out next time.
Oh, they're so sweet.
The otter Logan then says, you know, we haven't normally had two fish go into the net next to each other. They seem to like the smell of it. And then he kind of twitches his head and he sees another like the net like goes taut again as something swims. He goes, oh, hang on. And he swims down into the water and then emerges with another perch, which he puts on the bank. And then again, Eden, bonk.
Question.
He seems to really
Is
enjoy
it. The
I think
same perch?
Eden actually says bonk when he does it with a rock. And there's a third perch they've now fished out of the water. And he says, don't worry, you get your breath back. There'll be another opportunity to get into that water again to fish.
I can't wait for it.
You say, I'll wait for it. And then the camera goes over the water and then quickly travels down the water, down the stream. Is it downstream? Upstream. To Balthazar and Flynn. Maybe, 20 minutes upstream. And you're in the middle of a conversation when Eden turns and says, oh, careful. And he goes, careful. And he just reaches one paw out and then guides you away from the edge of the riverbank.
Oh.
Balthazar. And you see a ripple in the water move. And then he kind of leans in and says, do you know what that was? And Balthazar, you do. It wasn't a perch.
Oh.
Begins with a P, but it's much larger, and there was something to be afraid of on Loch Katrine.
Polar cat.
No. It's called a pike.
Pipistrelle. Oh.
It's not a Pipistrelle, it's a pike.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
ooh.
So Balthazar would know about them, probably.
Mhm.
Lots of
Yeah,
lots
you
of stories.
do know. They're big, they're fanged, they're almost as big as a wildcat. And
Oh my god.
we're gonna end on that cliffhanger.
Wait, was it going in the direction of?
Yup.
Oh no,
So
it's
it
going
was.
downstream.
Okay, so no, so it's going upstream in this case because
No, so the
we're
camera-
closer to Loch Katrine, right? So it's going upstream.
No, so you are. So our rat and bat are here. You're here. The camera moved upstream towards you, and it is swimming
thought-
downstream. Towards the
Gotcha.
curious-
I for some reason thought that they're here and I'm like here.
Oops.
No.
So never
Those are
mind.
separate
Yeah.
rivers. Those are separate rivers.
Gotcha. Oh, I see now. Yeah. Okay. So
Oh,
I think
no.
Wow.
Watson's gonna be a little snack.
This is going to get very interesting next session when we pick
Oh,
up
God.
with your fishing endeavors. But don't worry, hand
Fishing in the
Pipistrelle can
pool
save
of
you.
chaos.
Yeah, Happy Pistrelle's just gonna like karate chop a fish right out of the river.
No, I think
Uh-huh.
Pip's just gonna reach in with her giant bat hand and just grab it by the neck.
Yeah, just yeah, just wring its neck with her
just
giant
that's it.
hand. Just snap its spine.
Giant titan.
mess with Pipistrelle.
In Pipistrelle. Oh god. She is in fact.
In Bristley Woods, Pipistrelle eat you.
Oh no!
I am a predator now. I have titan hands.
So,
Titan.
I will
Truly
build
counts.
the kingdom of your undoing.
Oh my god.
we reach the end of today's session. We are still in the scene of Fill the Moor.
Oh
To
god.
remind you.
Oh, for
Oh no! The bar. Oh no!
the
This is-
maw.
Lutzon's gonna fill the bar.
This is the bad news, bears.
Lutzen, no,
So-
he's dead.
Don't forget
Can't believe
to
Lutzen died.
tune in next week for the next exciting episode of Beast Fables.
Oh wait, is it not? Is it not in the red next week?
No,
Oh, actually, yeah.
that's a little teaser. For
Oops,
something
sorry.
I'm going to do other plans. That's going to be in January because life, energy, and then it's Christmas.
Nice.
Oh god.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Maths. Yeah.
So,
Ray Chrysler.
Merry
Merry
Chrysler.
Mary Chrysler.
I think on that lovely note, we should conclude by reintroducing ourselves and have an outro to this episode. So I've been Brian. I've stolen this from. It's just part of me. I'm really sorry, but you steal from the people that you love, and
Dirty thief.
it's just taken. It's just so natural to say it. I am Brian. I use he/him pronouns. I run Dungeons on a Dime. I've been the narrator for today's game, and I have really enjoyed it. This has been a real fun game. Who would like to
It's
introduce
really
themselves
good.
next?
Pipistrelle Pips! I have been Ver, also known as the creator of Hand Pipistrelle, the thing that can't hurt you.
But will.
But well, in so
She
many
will
ways.
not hurt you. You are safe.
Not
You can
physically.
find me on social. You can find me on social media. Verface at Twitter, and Sticks and Sharks at Tumblr. You can also find me on Patreon, where you can support me. And my Patreon is Verface at Patreon, much like my Twitter. Thank you, everybody, for this excellent game. I am very happy that we focused quite a bit on Lutzen and Pipistrelle this week, because one, there was a lot of Balthazar last week, and also that goddamn truck that was doing crazy things outside was a lot to deal with, and just that timing was very fortuitous of us changing our friends. I see that you are dislocating Hand Pipistrelle's situation
Pure
on the
chaos.
screen here. This is fine. I understand she needs to be destroyed.
No, this is so that I can screenshot Hand Pipistrelle and save the images so I can put them on Twitter later.
Yes, they are very powerful and terrifying.
I can move the bonking the wolf one down below. Oh, you put it. Never mind. You put the other thing there. Anyway.
So terrible.
Yes, Brian, thank you for having me as part of this game. God, I almost called you Lutzen, Fraser. Fraser and Atlanta, thank you very much. You guys are such delightful players, and I'm very excited for characters to finally sort of reunite, hopefully, maybe next week. And I'm really sorry that Lutzen's gonna die.
Oh no!
Well, you know. If it wasn't going to be the Eagle...
This is so you can easily segue into just being a duo characters. You get to play both Logan and Eden.
Oh my gosh, yes. Do I just pick up the NPCs? This is me now.
You are every NPC now, Fraser.
Take the wolf.
I'm every NPC. It's all in me.
No. Lutzen is all in the pike. That's how it works.
Oh, stop.
Anyway, speaking of Lutzen, Fraser, do you want to reintroduce yourself?
If I have to. Hello, I am the amorphous pink blob that goes by the name of Fraser. I've been playing Lutzen, the Craftpaw Red, and yeah, you can find me on Instagram at _lostastronaut or on Twitter at _lostastronaut. Yeah, thank you very much, Brian, for hosting and organizing and figuring this all out. And well, a conjoined effort with all three of you, really, with world building and the such. And thank you, Atlanta and Ver, for playing and being present for this game. It was very fun.
And last but not least, last
hello.
and smallest, it is Atlanta.
Last and smallest, but
and
not in
the rat.
But not in real life. Last and is still a rat.
Still a rat.
Hello, I am a low polygon version of a human being called Atlanta. I stand in your corner and look menacing. No. I've been playing Pipistrelle. I use she/her pronouns. You can find me online at Alpaca Scribbles on Twitter, at Alpaca_Scribbles on Instagram, at Alpaca Scribbles on Patreon. As per usual, thank you to Brian for a wonderful game. Fraser and Ver, you two are just the best to play with. This campaign is so fun, and I love that we flip-flop between just general shenanigans and then like serious conversations about the moral questions in this universe. So is always a good time. Makes me think and also makes me laugh.
This has been Beast Fables. We are so excited to have you along. I'm not going to promise that over Merry Chrysler and the New Year that we will get less silly intros, but I will try my best to stay on track.
We apologize for nothing.
We will see you next week. Bye.
See you, Pippi, everybody. Bye.
Bye.